Hello and welcome to another tutorial by Blendtech on C# programming fundamentals. Today I'm going to introduce you to strings, which are a type of variable. Strings are these things here in quotes. They're a string of letters and words and phrases. They're a line of text essentially that you want to display. You can work with strings in many different ways, but in the basic beginnings that we're working with, you'll mostly be writing them and reading them and adding to them and other small things like that. For example, we're going to make this program a little more interactive. So we've got the same program that we had before, the Hello World program. I've changed the namespace to Intro to Strings, again, just for organization. It hasn't changed in my Solution Explorer. In my Solution Explorer, I have to rename that manually as well, Intro to Strings. And I would have to rename this one as well. That just keeps everything nice and organized, but either way we still have the same program. I've just changed the namespace to keep things organized. So let's make this program more interactive. Let's write another line. Console.writeLine. Please type your first name only. End it with a semicolon, and now let's run this. So this time it prints, please type your first name only, hello world, press enter to end. Enter to end, that's all it is. But we want to tell the computer what our name is, and how we do that is we use the same one we've already used, console.readLine. What this does is you're telling the computer, whatever's typed into this line, read it. Take this information and read it, and preferably store it somehow. So let's run this. Type your first name only. Okay, my name is John. It didn't do anything with our input because we haven't stored it. But at least we had a chance to input our name. So enter to end. Now, to store this information, the simplest way to do it, and the way we're going to be doing it, is to store it in variables. So, the first variable we're going to be introducing, obviously, is a string. In C#, you have to define every variable that you use as what kind of variable it is. If it's an integer, you have to define it as an integer. If it's a string, you have to define it as a string. If it's a whatever, you have to define it as a whatever. In other programming languages, for example, in JavaScript, which you may be familiar with, you would just go var myString equals hello. And it would know that myString is equal to hello. This isn't true in C#. Notice the errors. MyString. It knows it's a variable because C#'s gotten a little bit smarter and we typed in the word var, but MyString is assigned, but its value is never used. So it knows that this is a string because C#, like I said, it's gotten smart, and this is just a warning, not an error. It will run the same way as before, but this isn't the best way to write your programs. What we want to do is, since this is a string, we're going to define it as a string. MyString equals hello. That is, and end it with a semicolon. That is how you store information. So the string named myString has the information hello stored in it. So now at any time we can call myString up and it will replace it with hello. My string is now equal to hello. So let's take a look at this. If we hover over string, it notices that it's a system.string and it describes it, represents text as a series of Unicode characters. So that is the definition of what a string is. And if we go over my string, we have a warning again. My string is assigned, so we've assigned it as a string, but it hasn't been used. If I went console.writeLine my string, now it's being used and that goes away. So if we run this program, it's gonna write whatever my string is. So right now it's hello, so let's debug it. So see, it prints hello. Let's change my string to 1, 2, 3 ABC and debug. Again, see, it prints 1, 2, 3 ABC. So let's make our program interactive. You don't have to define my string as just simply a string. We can make my string equal a command. Remember, console read line is a way to store data, but we had nowhere to store it. Now we have somewhere to store it. We're going to store a read line in my string. My string is going to be equal to console.readLine. Now remember, when we use the console.readLine command, it waits for us to input text. We hit enter and then it stores it, preferably. Now it's storing it in the string called myString. Let's give it a better name since this is going to be an interactive program. Let's call it my first name. I want to bring to your attention the way to format things such as variables and other things in C#. Right now, the most popular and the industry standard is to leave the first word lowercase and every next word, the very first character, for example the F here and the N here, capitalized. So if we were to continue, it would be my first name is this string. The first character of every word is capitalized. That is what the industry standard is right now. Years ago, it was all lowercase. At one point it changed to all uppercase. Different languages use different formatting ways, but in C#, this is the current way to format everything. We have an error again here. The name myString does not exist in the current context because we changed the string name to my first name. Let's change that to my first name. Notice it gives us a selection that we can use here. All our variables are available here as we start typing them, and we can double click on them to enter them. That saves us some time in writing code. Now our errors go away and everything's fine. Let's clean this up a little bit to make it interactive. We want my first name to have its input stored, which it already does if we debug it. Right now it's asking us for my first name. So right now, if we type in John and then hit enter, that is going to assign John to my first name. So enter. Now it prints John because our next line of code was writeLine my first name. So let's change this around so it makes a bit more sense. Let's take this line that tells the computer to write out, please type in your first name only. And then the string my first name equals console readLine, so then we'll get the input and it'll take that input and assign it to my first name, and then the console will write your first name. And then, as I said, we're going to always use the press enter to end and then read line code snippet as a way to keep our window open and then close it when we choose. So let's try this out. Please type your first name only is printed. Let's type our first name, John. Again, John is just printed, and then press enter to end, so I'm going to hit enter to end. So that's pretty basic. Now, since right line is going to be a string, let's make it a little more interactive, like I said. Let's put some quotes in and say hello, and then add a plus sign. Notice when I have my cursor on my first name, it shows where that variable is being used. It highlights it in gray. That is useful when your code gets very complicated. Just something to remember. So let's see what that change did. So type in John again. Hello, John. But hey, you say, there's no space. It just says hello, John as one word. And you can say it as fast as you want. Hello, John is what the computer's saying essentially. That's because we didn't enter a space in anywhere. Now you can enter a space in right after the hello, or you can add another plus and just have it print a space out. So now if we debug it and type in John as our name, now it has a space. Nice, good, clean program. There's an even better way to do this. Let's get rid of all these pluses. So we're going to have right line hello, and we're going to use a special thing. We're going to use a curly bracket 0, and then we're going to close with a right curly bracket. And then we're going to put a comma, and then we're going to put my first. Now I'm going to show you an example. See how when I start typing my first, it brings up my variable. Double click on it, my first name goes right in there. So now let's run this and see what happens. It did the exact same thing, but we didn't have to put in spaces anywhere and nor plus signs. So this optimized our code. It reduced the file size, it reduced the need to type more characters in, and it made everything more functionable and editable. You'll see more examples of this in the next couple minutes. I first want to explain that 0 is actually the first thing. When you're counting in programming, you always start at 0. 0 is actually the first thing. 1 is actually the second thing. 2 is actually the third thing, and so on and so on. So we're going to add a curly bracket 1, and then we're going to add a comma, and then we're going to do my last name. Now we haven't defined my last name here, so it gives us an error that says it does not exist in the current context. However, this just iterates that 0 is the first thing, my first name, and 1 is the second thing, my last name. So at the moment this won't debug. It gives us an error. It says my last name does not exist. I cannot complete this. So let's add my last name. So let's just copy this. Let's change first name to last name, because right now it says it's already defined and you can't use the same thing twice, otherwise you're going to run into errors. It will not debug, it will not build, it will not compile. That will not work. You can have the same strings, but you cannot have the same variables. So instead of my second string being my first name, it's going to be my last name. Now our errors all go away again. Now let's hit debug again. Please type your first name only, John. Please type your last name only. Doe. Hello, John Doe. Press enter to end. Now see how it printed out my first name and my last name without having, again, to enter in the plus my variable, plus space, plus my variable, etc., etc. This is a way to enter in information and we can change it easily. So if I wanted to change the first thing entered in to be some other variable, all I have to do is change this to my variable instead of having to change the entire string around if it was formatted extremely complicated, because we could go plus ABC plus space plus 1, 2, 3. That works as well, but see how complicated it is? Notice how it wrote ABC 1, 2, 3 at the end, but there was no spaces. We would even have to go and add yet another space in there. So you can see how complicated it gets. We can make this a little bit easier by adding the spaces beforehand, but it looks a little ugly and it's still more complicated. As strings get more and more complicated, it's easier to have it insert the data for us. That way we can change it as we need. Now let's introduce one more concept. On a new line, we're going to paste a new right line. In this right line, we're going to do something kind of cool. We're going to say your first name is, and we're going to add the space here just to make things easy for us now. And then we're going to say plus to add on. And then we're going to use our variable, my first. Again, see, I have a choice of variables here. I could choose my first or my last, but we're going to start with first because we're saying our first name is my first name. Dot. Now, look at all the things we can do with my first name in a string. We can get the type. We can concat. We can see if it contains something. We can copy it. We can clone it. We can cast it, which we'll get into a lot of these. We can pad it to the left. We can pad it to the right. We can remove it, replace it. We can split it. We can turn it to lowercase to uppercase. We can trim it, etc. I'm going to introduce you to one of the simplest and usually first introduced concepts, dot length. Plus, and then letters long. So let's see what this does. So we're going to type in our first name again, John. Now John has 4 letters in it. Type in your last name, Doe. Now Doe has 3 letters in it. Now hit enter. Hello, John Doe. The computer tells us your first name is 4 letters long. Press enter to end. So that just gets the length of our name. This is useful in a lot of circumstances. I'm sure you can think of them. I'm not going to spend another 20 minutes telling you what dot length is good for, but let's show you one more really quickly. Actually, let's just make this a little more complicated just to continue adding on with the fun. Let's change first to last here. There. So we run it one more time. First name, John, again 4 characters. Doe, again 3. Your first name is 4, your last name is 3. That's pretty cool. Now, I'm going to show you 2 more things with strings for this lesson, because we're coming up to our half-hour time limit I try to keep on lessons. So what we're going to do is we're going to define a new string. So string my first name lower equals my first name dot to lower, and end it with an opening or a left and right bracket and a semicolon. This to lower is a function right there in itself. You can't just write to lower semicolon. It has to have the brackets, because we could add arguments in here if we wanted to, but that's more advanced. And you might have seen this in programs before, like run this part and then run that part, argument 1 0 1 0, something like that. That would be how the brackets work in functions. Actually, it's called a method. So now what we've done is we've created a new string called my first name lower, and what it does is it takes my first name and it converts it to lowercase with the to lower method. This doesn't change my first name. My first name will still be whatever you input it, but we have a new string that takes my first name and converts it to lower. So let's see what that does by console.writeLine. And we're going to write my first name lower. So we're going to write out that variable. Going to add just to make it easy to understand. So this is a second string that turned your name into lowercase characters. How come I can't spell? Cars. Bah, easy enough. So let's debug and run this. Please type your first name. John. I'm going to type it in weird, some caps, some not. And the same with my last name. Hello, John Doe. Your first name is still 4 letters long. Your last name is still 3 letters long. And now notice that John is all lowercase, and it says this is a second string that turned your name into lowercase characters. So it turned John, no matter which way I wrote it, into lowercase. You can also do this to uppercase by doing to upper. So after the dot, just scroll through all the options, and there's a lot of interesting things you can do there. That's all for my introduction to strings today. In my next video, I'm going to be introducing more variables to deal with numbers and working with numbers and strings together. And introducing a few more operators like plus, multiplication, etc. If you like this video, please press the like button and subscribe. If you didn't, please leave me a comment as to why you did not like my video. Just disliking is no good to anyone. That is not constructive criticism. That is just criticism. If you disliked the video, please tell me why. Leave me a comment and I will be able to improve my videos more and more until they become absolutely perfect for everybody, or nearly everybody. And I hope you continue to watch more.